Hey there, everybody. Thomas with Basecamp Trading. It is Monday, December 4th, and we're going to talk a little bit about the markets and what's going on today, because today is kind of an interesting occurrence. So if you're looking at what happened over the weekend and when the markets opened Sunday night, specifically talking about futures here, many of them gapped. We had gaps in the indices, gaps in currencies, we had gaps in energies or in interest rates, etc. So when you have a gap in a market, and this is what it looks like here, this was the close Friday and here was the open, so there's a gapped up. When you have a gap like that, you don't want to just blindly sell that market, because sometimes what will happen is you'll gap and you'll run. What you want to do is you want to pay attention to where the consolidation and the pivot lows and highs take place, and then wait for that market to prove to you that it's going to fill the gap by looking for a support break. So looking at the Russell here, for example, if you were in a trading room, you know we talked about this being a run on the stops right up there where we broke through the highs, pulled back and closed below. We had a bearish outlook from then on, and it ended up coming down, breaking through the pivot low support, and now we're just about at 100% gap fill. Then you go look at something like bonds. Bonds are the same type of deal. We ended up going into a little bit of a range here, and we ended up having a trend line going up and across our lows. But we gapped down, came back up, broke through the pivot high, went into a range, then broke through the pivot high again, and now have basically filled the gap, just about 100% gap fill there as well. And the reason you want to wait for it to prove to you that it's going to break the pivot high or break the pivot low, and you don't want to just blindly buy or blindly sell, is because sometimes you'll get a setup like this, where this is the euro, we gap down. Okay, there's our pivot high, and then we continue to put in lower pivot highs and lower lows and continue to trend lower all day and have not filled the gap that occurred in the euro. So the point of today's story is, or today's lesson basically is make sure if you are going to trade gap fills, there's nothing wrong with that at all, because the majority of the time the market will fill the gap. However, make that market prove to you that it's going to fill the gap by breaking through a previous pivot high or breaking through a previous pivot low to trigger your entry. Alrighty? That's all I have for you for today, though. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. And until next time, happy trading.